So when you picture a disruptive tech startup, you probably imagine a couple of sleep-deprived coders in a California garage just pivoting their app to change the world.
Right, yeah, it's the ultimate modern origin story. But today, we're doing a deep dive into some historical and corporate sources to look at a startup that, well, it didn't happen in the 1990s garage.
No, it happened in an 1837 blacksmith shop in Vermont and then eventually Illinois.
Exactly. And it evolved into a literal pioneer of artificial intelligence. We are tracing the evolution of Deere and Company.
Okay, let's unpack this. It really all starts with a guy named John Deere, a broken steel saw blade, and a massive problem.
Yeah, the sticky Midwest clay.
Right. He was trying to invent a plow for this stuff, and he ends up hammering out this polished steel curvature that became known as the singing plow.
And we really need to understand the mechanics of why that mattered, because the stakes were just enormous. The cast iron plows that farmers brought from the East Coast were failing miserably in that dense soil.
Because the clay would just stick to the pitted iron, right, like a suction cup.
Exactly. It essentially created a vacuum. You had to stop every few feet to literally scrape it off. But Deere's polished steel and its specific mathematical curve, well, it broke that vacuum so the soil scoured itself off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, solving that one physical bottleneck literally enabled the settlement of the American Great Plains.
But I mean, hand-hammering saw blades doesn't scale. To go from an artisanal shop to a heavy manufacturing giant, they had to master massive logistical shifts.
Right, like moving to Moline, Illinois in 1848, specifically to leverage the Mississippi River for shipping.
And shipping was just the start. By 1869, Charles Deere created independent retail branch houses, which wasn't just a sales tactic, it was a physical feedback loop.
Yes, exactly. Dealers were out there talking to farmers every day, seeing equipment break, and feeding that field data directly back to the engineers in Moline.
Almost like a modern franchise network.
Precisely. Which perfectly sets up the 1918 tractor pivot. They buy the Waterloo Boy Tractor Company for $2.1 million.
Wait, I have to push back here. Didn't they spend $50,000, which was like a third of their entire advertising budget, promoting this incredibly loud, unproven kerosene machine?
Yeah, they did.
Was that not just completely reckless to bet the farm on that?
Well, it looks reckless until you look at the ceiling of animal power. I mean, a horse requires food and care 365 days a year, working or not.
Right, that makes sense.
And it has a hard biological limit on how much ground it can cover. Kerosene offered sustained, scalable power. Because of that dealer feedback loop, Deere knew farmers were hitting a productivity wall.
So it was a calculated risk. Lead the mechanization wave or become obsolete.
Exactly. And that adaptability basically became their DNA. Like during World War II, they'd pivot again, forming the 303rd Ordnance Battalion.
Yeah, you had 1,000 employees and dealers in Europe fixing Sherman tank transmissions and machining M3 tank parts instead of plows.
But eventually, even pure mechanical power hit a wall. By the late 1950s, their classic two-cylinder engines couldn't get any bigger without literally vibrating themselves apart.
So they secretly develop a completely new line. In 1960, they unveiled the 4010 tractor by airlifting 6,000 dealers to Texas for Deere Day in Dallas.
It was massive.
It sounds exactly like a modern Silicon Valley keynote. I mean, what stands out to you, that mechanical leap or the digital one that comes later?
Oh, definitely the digital one. Because the next bottleneck wasn't horsepower. It was precision. By 1996, they partnered with NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory to integrate GPS.
Wait, NASA?
Really? Yeah, achieving sub-inch accuracy for their machines. What's fascinating here is how farming shifted, so information itself became managed as a crop.
Going from a blacksmith forge to NASA partnerships is just an incredible leap, and that leads straight to 2017 when they acquire Blue River Tech for their See and Spray system.
Which is a brilliant piece of engineering.
Yeah.
Instead of blanketing a whole field with chemicals, computer vision models analyze every single plant in milliseconds.
Oh, so the camera distinguishes a crop from a weed, and a nozzle sprays only the weed.
Yep. And it cuts herbicide use by 59%.
Wow. And by 2022, you have the 8R tractor, fully autonomous, driven by AI. And they're still pushing with their LEAP Ambitions 2030 goals, right? Slashing their carbon footprint by 50% and rolling out electric utility tractors by 2026.
You can even see it in their branding. In the year 2000, they subtly updated the famous Leaping Deer logo. Instead of landing, the deer is leaping upward, symbolizing his constant drive toward the next technological horizon.
So what does this all mean? They solve the soil adhesion, then the engine mechanics, then the software. It proves their philosophy of innovating a solution and then just keeping at it.
Which brings us to the solutions as a service model they're moving toward today. It completely redefines what buying a tractor means.
Right, you're no longer just buying a piece of iron.
Exactly, you're subscribing to a software platform that gets continuous over-the-air updates to improve its capabilities, much like your smartphone. The machine gets smarter the longer you own it.
It really takes us right back to that startup vibe. So if tractors are driving themselves and optimizing crop data in the cloud, it leaves you wondering, will the farmers of 2050 look more like traditional agriculturalists, or will they essentially be software engineers?